Welcome to Top Fact Amazing. You might think your dog looks guilty when you catch it doing something it shouldn't, but research has shown that most animals probably don't experience complex emotions like embarrassment. Whether you believe that or not, though, animals sure do manage to get themselves into some pretty awkward situations. From the hilarious to the downright gross, the animals in this video bring you a mix of fails and fur. So join me as we dive into some of the most embarrassing moments in the animal kingdom. The poop shoe. Sure, we humans may have the brains, but do we have the ability to launch poop up to 14 feet? Turns out that's exactly what penguins can do, and they're not shy about it. When nature calls, a penguin will lean forward, lift its rear, and isn't nature beautiful? Scientists believe penguins developed this high-pressure technique to keep their nests clean. But since penguins live in large colonies, this flying mess often lands right on other penguins. Wow. Just wow. And the worst part? Some penguins, like this unlucky fellow, seem to have been hit more than once, yet he refuses to move. Either he's the most stubborn penguin in town, or, well, maybe he's into it. Either way, it's safe to say that penguins are a pretty messy bunch and should feel at least a little embarrassed. Personally, I'll be passing on the invite to the penguin poop party this year. The Wheel of Misfortune. With around 11 million households worldwide having a pet hamster, these little rodents are a popular choice. But did you know that hamsters can run up to 5 to 12 miles in a single day? Given their size, that's the equivalent of climbing Mount Everest. For most domesticated hamsters, though, this wild distance is covered by whirling away on their wheels. However, when multiple hamsters decide it's jogging time at once, things can get a little chaotic. This little guy's ability to shake it off and act like nothing happened is pretty impressive. If someone humiliated me like that at the gym, I'd never go back. Which, come to think of it, might be the real reason I avoid the gym. Some things are just unforgettable. Go nuts for nuts. It's no secret that squirrels love nuts and seeds. With so many gardeners putting out bird feeders full of squirrel-friendly treats, these fluffy-tailed fellows simply can't resist the temptation. But as you'll see, they're not always the smoothest operators when it comes to getting their paws on those snacks. Let's just say that could have gone better. Charles Oliver, who captured this clip in his Massachusetts garden, knows the local squirrels well and often sees them getting flung from the feeder, only to race right back up for another go. Not only do they seem to enjoy the thrill, but they also manage to shake a few nuts onto the ground in the process. It's a win-win. Or actually, a win-win-win if you include the entertainment we get from watching. Frog fright. Frogs are famous for their croaking, but did you know they can actually scream? Yes, really, and if you don't believe me, just check out this next clip. Ah, poor little guy. But was the frog actually scared of the toy tortoise? Frogs only scream for specific reasons, usually to scare off predators. But a more, shall we say, awkward explanation could be that this was actually a mating call. Then again, considering he ran away, it's safe to say that date wasn't going well. And this isn't the only time our froggy friends have landed themselves in awkward situations. Just look at this next fellow who got himself stuck in a VHS player, all thanks to his, generously sized rear end. Better move on before this curvy amphibian breaks the internet. Raining pandas. Sure, pandas might be the undisputed kung fu champs, but they aren't exactly known for their sharp wit. In fact, atazanimals.com ranks them as the third dumbest animals in the world. Ouch. While that sounds harsh, the evidence isn't exactly in their favor. Just take a look at this next clip. Yep, that's going to hurt in the morning. Thanks to their, let's say, blissful innocence, pandas are constantly getting into hilarious situations, and their lack of coordination and risk assessment doesn't make things easier. If you're craving more of these clumsy moments, iPanda.com offers daily panda content to keep you entertained. I didn't have weekend plans, but I sure do now. Fish supper. When you think of animal predators, you probably imagine lions, tigers, or sharks, right? But a snail? Sounds like a joke. Yet, there's a species of sea snail that's actually a deadly predator, the cone snail. Still don't believe me? Well, take a look. It can't feel great to admit you were taken down by a snail, especially since it looks like the fish could have just swum away. But there's actually a reasonable explanation. Cone snails hunt sleeping fish, so the fish was completely unaware of the threat until it was too late. Once the snail grabs its prey, it injects a powerful venom that paralyzes it, stopping any chance of escape. As it's slowly digested, the fish has plenty of time to contemplate the life choices that led to this unfortunate end, kind of like me after 6 whiskey sours. Slippin' in Canada. We've all been there, just walking along when suddenly, it's a one-way trip to Faceplant City. It's embarrassing, for sure. But it's not just us humans who suffer from this all-too-familiar misstep, and let's be honest, it's always funny. Just check out this next clip. In 2012, a Canadian couple spotted a moose on the loose outside their house and decided to capture the majestic creature on camera. Only this moose was less king of the forest and more Bambi on ice. While the woman filming seemed genuinely concerned for the poor creature's struggle, her husband had his eyes on something else, making sure the moose didn't take a tumble onto his car. Ah, that classic Canadian love for nature. Now, let's dive into some pet encounters of the derp kind. From high jumps to stealth moves, cats usually seem pretty slick. But they're not always as put together as they'd like us to think. Just check out this clip of a cat clearly struggling to figure out how gaps work. Come on, buddy, don't be shy. Maybe I should just toss it in there? The narrow opening was definitely a challenge, and as you saw, the cat eventually admitted defeat. But he's not the only one having trouble with tight spaces. Just watch this next clip of Wally the Weimaraner, determined to get his plank of wood through the door. Even with physics working against him, Wally wasn't about to give up that easily. Nice save, Wally. That could have been really embarrassing. Now, back to cats, and here's another moment for their scorecards. Hunting is kind of their thing, right? In fact, cats are often considered some of the most skilled hunters in the animal kingdom. But this next cat doesn't quite live up to that reputation. Alright, so this cat's a lover, not a fighter. But for a species that prides itself on hunting prowess, I'm sorry, little guy, this was a bit embarrassing. You just got outwitted by a pigeon. What would the other alley cats think? Small but mighty. Birds of prey, like eagles, often have a bit of a bad guy reputation. They do, after all, prey on the flesh of other animals. However, in a video captured in early 2022, one bald eagle's tough guy image took a bit of a hit after it was seen getting bullied by a tiny mockingbird. Oof, that's got to sting the pride a little. They don't call them mockingbirds for nothing. These little birds are famously territorial and have even been known to attack animals like cats. So, it's really no surprise that this brave little guy would take on a massive bald eagle. In nature, animals often weigh the effort of staying in a situation against the energy it would take to leave. For the bald eagle, putting up with this feisty mockingbird or fighting back was simply more effort than finding a new spot to perch. But still, nobody really wants to make the flight of shame, right? See you later, alligator. In the animal kingdom, it's not unusual for one animal to become another's lunch, it's just part of the circle of life, as they say. But when you're being preyed on by your own species? That's a pretty clear sign you're not exactly top of the pecking order. And that's exactly what happened to one unfortunate alligator in Lakeland, Florida. Onlookers were shocked as they watched a giant gator dragging a much smaller gator in its mouth. But if alligators are apex predators with plenty of prey options, why would one turn to cannibalism? There are a few possible reasons. For one, it could be about eliminating competition. Fewer alligators around means less rivalry for food or mates. Unfortunately, young alligators are often the target of these attacks. And sometimes, if a mother gator can't care for her baby or is simply hungry, she'll even eat her own offspring. So, who's the real loser here, the gator getting eaten, or the one that can't seem to pick on someone its own size? Anyway, on a lighter note, check out this next alligator, hilariously named Seven, who got a little embarrassed during feeding time at the Everglades Holiday Park. Take a look. Ah, poor Seven. He missed his bite and seemed so flustered that he slinked off to hide in the water. With typically sharp eyesight, most gators are skillful hunters, but it seems like Seven might need a pair of glasses. Oh dear, oh dear. Now, let's talk about another animal that could use a bit of practice, the deer. With predators like coyotes, cougars, and, worst of all, humans, deer need some serious skills to survive. One key talent that helps them escape danger is their impressive jumping ability, which allows them to leap up to 10 feet in the air. But as you might guess, a talent for high jumps also means a higher chance for goofs, leading to some hilariously awkward moments. Take this deer in Texas, for example. After a failed leap over a fence, it found itself in a less than flattering position. That look says it all. Luckily, a push from some helpful neighbors set it free, and it quickly scampered off, no doubt to hide its face in shame. And when it comes to clearing fences, little fawns are understandably even clumsier than adult deer. Just check out this clip captured by Joe Clark in 2017. So close, yet so far. Let's see that one more time. Adorable and hilarious, but the list of deer fails doesn't end there. Back in 2017, Stacy Lee Derriemer was driving through Wisconsin when she spotted something truly bizarre, a wild deer getting a little too friendly with some fake deer lawn ornaments. Oh boy, here he goes again. Alright, I think the less said about this one, the better. Moving right along. In 2021, another deer had a rather awkward moment when it accidentally broke into a Christian Fellowship church in Michigan and freaked out as if he'd been sent there by Satan himself. Take a look. Oh no, don't go up. This poor deer crashed through a church window and proceeded to cause chaos, even bouncing off the walls. Eventually, he found his way back out. But what was he doing there in the first place? Well, my theory is that it's the same deer from that previous clip. After what he did to those lawn ornaments, he clearly needed a little redemption. Now, on to a real pain in the neck. There are few things more embarrassing than getting stuck, and that's exactly what happened to one fox in Beverly, Massachusetts, when he got his head wedged in a drain. It's not unusual to see foxes down drains, as they often make dens in hidden, out-of-sight spots. It seems this fox was on his way out when his nose got wedged, leaving him stuck and dangling like a floating head. Locals spotted the trapped fox and called Beverly Animal Control, who managed to slowly ease his head out with a mix of soap, water, and olive oil. Once they'd basted him up, he was soon free to skedaddle back into the wild, likely to find yet another hole to get stuck in. And honestly, it's not far-fetched, since the same thing actually happened in 2019 in Massachusetts, but this time to a raccoon. Known for their scavenging skills, raccoons often venture down drains in search of food scraps. But sometimes their eyes are bigger than their bellies, and their bellies are bigger than their heads. Nowhere was that truer than in 2017, when the Zion Police Department in Illinois was called to rescue a raccoon that couldn't get out of a drain because its tummy was too large. I'm pretty sure I pulled that exact face trying to fit into an old pair of jeans after Thanksgiving dinner. Thankfully, with a little greasing up, both raccoons were freed, ready to reconsider their climbing and eating habits or, more likely, to gorge on whatever snacks awaited in the nearest trash can. Bye, trash pandas, when will you ever learn? 4 legs, 0 dignity. For the most part, dogs are incredibly smart, with impressive problem-solving skills, memory, and command-following abilities. But even they have their limits. Take, for example, this dog from Maryland. Meet Sirius Black, a puggle, that's a pug and beagle mix, who found himself in quite the sticky situation. Check out the clip. Yep, poor Sirius stepped on a bench full of glue-based mousetraps and was, quite literally, stuck. And despite dogs being known for problem-solving, Sirius couldn't quite figure this one out. Another dog who seemingly found himself in a sticky scenario was the pup in this viral picture, looking like he'd somehow broken into his owner's bubblegum stash, complete with bubbles blowing out of his rear end. Of course, it's almost certain that Photoshop was involved here, but dogs definitely find themselves in wacky situations all on their own. Take Cole, for instance, who caused a full-on scene when it was time for his medication. Cole, eat your medicine. Come on, Cole. You gotta take it to stay healthy. Be a good boy. Take your medicine. He eventually gave in, but wow, talk about a drama queen. Still, Cole's antics have nothing on the sheer chaos caused by one feral pig back in 2013. At an Australian campsite, a wild pig stumbled upon a six-pack of beer left by some campers, and promptly drank the lot, becoming completely inebriated. The tipsy pig then went on a rampage, ransacking trash cans and even picking a fight with a cow. To top off the wild night, he took a dip in a nearby river and eventually blacked out under a tree. Honestly? A little too relatable. That'll do, pig. That'll do. I'm a survivor. We've already touched on the fact that getting eaten by another animal is just part of life in the wild. But there's nothing particularly embarrassing about it unless, of course, you're eaten by a frog and end up coming out alive in its poop. Now that's definitely not a story you'd bring up on a first date. As strange as it sounds, in 2020, researchers at Kobe University in Japan made a truly bizarre discovery. They found that 90% of the time, when frogs eat a certain type of water beetle called Regimbartia attenuata, the beetle can actually survive in the frog's gut and, well, emerge in the frog's poop up to 6 hours later. Let's be honest, part of you is curious to see how this works, right? Well, feast your eyes. We've all had our share of bad days, but this beetle's experience is on a whole other level. I'm not sure it fully understood what was happening, but if I were that beetle, crawling out of a frog's slimy cloaca wouldn't exactly be a proud moment. Sure, living to tell the tale is nice, but at what cost? A balanced life. When it comes to bears, many wildlife biologists agree they're among the most intelligent land animals in North America. Often compared to higher primates, bears are capable of performing complex tasks, which might explain why they were once trained to balance on balls and even ride bikes in the circus. As strange as it sounds, in 2020, researchers at Kobe University in Japan made a truly bizarre discovery. They found that 90% of the time, when frogs eat a certain type of water beetle called Regimbartia attenuata, the beetle can actually survive in the frog's gut and, well, emerge in the frog's poop up to 6 hours later. Let's be honest, part of you is curious to see how this works, right? Well, feast your eyes. We've all had our share of bad days, but this beetle's experience is on a whole other level. I'm not sure it fully understood what was happening, but if I were that beetle, crawling out of a frog's slimy cloaca wouldn't exactly be a proud moment. Sure, living to tell the tale is nice, but at what cost? A balanced life. When it comes to bears, many wildlife biologists agree they're among the most intelligent land animals in North America. Often compared to higher primates, bears are capable of performing complex tasks, which might explain why they were once trained to balance on balls and even ride bikes in the circus. Cruel though that may be. That said, bears don't always have it all figured out. Case in point, the moment this curious group of bears stumbled upon a hammock in the woods. In 2021, a family staying at a holiday cabin heard strange noises outside, only to find a mama bear and her 3 cubs investigating the mysterious contraption otherwise known as the hammock. The cubs took turns trying to climb on, only to be tossed to the ground. Sure, we can laugh, but let's be honest, we've all been there at some point. And speaking of wobbly attempts, meet this emu, who clearly isn't destined for a soccer career anytime soon. Which of these embarrassing animal moments did you find funniest? Have any stories of your own? Let me know in the comments, and as always, thanks for watching.